Good day, Midland. I'm Terri Johnson, and welcome to the next edition of Max Loves Midland. Over to you, Kevin.
Welcome back to another episode of the Max Loves Midland Show. I'm your weekly tour guide, Kevin LaDuke. The Max Loves Midland Show is a show where we see Midland through your lenses. Whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your content, or you could also be listening on WSGW, we thank you for being with us today. And that pickleball prompt was a real interesting way to start the show, and very intentional too, because we just had the Association of Pickleball Players Great Lakes Open take place at the Midland Tennis Center. What was the excitement out there, Terri?
Oh, it was just humming. You know, to have the first golden ticket national tournament here in our own community was thrilling. The actual tournament was supposed to take place in Los Angeles, but they didn't have their facility ready. Heard about our brand new pickleball complex that just opened about 2 weeks before the tournament, and they called and said, hey, can we bring it to Midland? And of course, our answer was absolutely. And so need to do a big shout out to the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitor Bureau. They were the ones that donated the funds to be able to create that because of the economic boom that it does to our community. But the courts were just full of energy, full of excitement. People were there watching and cheering them on, and it was a handful of days of pure energy.
That's really, really exciting. And if this is anyone's first time being introduced to pickleball, go check it out. But if it's also your first time being introduced to Terri Johnson from Greater Midland, we're going to have a lot of fun today. And there's been a lot of changes with Greater Midland since you have started your career there. So let's talk a little bit. What is your role with Greater Midland, and how have you seen changes within the organization, both this pickleball tournament and beyond?
Sure, thanks. So I've actually been formally with Greater Midland in the president and CEO position for about 4.5 years now, which, boy, I can't believe how fast that went. But prior to that, I did have positions starting way back on the community center board and then elevated to the board of trustees for a number of years. So Greater Midland has been near and dear to my heart from an actual position. I can go all the way back to my kids and my participation at the center, but from a position, board, and now president and CEO. So it's been a great journey. It has been 4 years of a lot of change, but I put it in the category of significant innovation, progress, commitment to the community, everything from the new community center to the pickleball, and everything that we're building in our programming in all our centers.
I will say, I think it's really lived up to our community vision statement. You went for something, and you did that together with your staff, your team, your board, your members. And what you've been able to accomplish with the new community center as a member has been absolutely incredible. But Greater Midland is so much more than the community center or the tennis center. And I know a lot of folks might associate it with just one of those two buildings. So if we look at Greater Midland as a whole, what is Greater Midland's impact on Midland County?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that question because sometimes we're the greatest story never told. And when people see or hear Greater Midland, they think community center. When then they hear community center, they think a pool and a gym. And so it is much bigger than that. And so collectively, Greater Midland is a series of operating units. We're all under one 501c3 nonprofit organization. But we do have the community center, which started, not in this location, of course, but started in 1919. And so we have the community center. We do have the tennis center. We have our curling center, which is now attached to the new community center. And then we have two family centers that really service a wide population of the county. So we have North Midland Family Center in Mills Township and Coleman Family Center. In addition to that, we have what we call corporate wellness. And we partner with a lot of different companies to either facilitate their wellness programs or their facilities. So for an example, we manage Dow's corporate facilities, not just here in Midland, but in other locations as well. So it is bigger. We're the 6th largest employer in Midland County. And if you really look at the numbers, what you'll see is that we impact about 80% of the people in the county and 60% of the people in the city. So whether it's personal or your family or you have a membership or you go through our programs or you go through food or clothing needs, we somehow touch a majority of the community.
Now, you come from a background of marketing and PR, at least a little bit in your career, or a lot of it in your career, really. And unique is one of those words that really gets thrown around, and it becomes a buzzword in marketing and in that industry. And I think it's become a buzzword in Midland for a long time. But to say that Greater Midland is unique, I think is a true justification. The Curling Center is an incredible facility. Most people may not even understand what it is or that it's there, but for the folks that are involved with the Curling Center, they love that center. The tennis center is a community staple. The community center is a community staple. Your corporate wellness programs are so unique. Your facilities throughout the county as well. It's just an absolute incredible gift to Midland County, and we really appreciate the work that you do. And you mentioned that Greater Midland is the 6th largest employer in Midland County. And when we're looking at those type of employment numbers, I think it touches so many different people. So how many employees does Greater Midland have? And I know it probably works on a scale depending on your programming.
It does. And so if you look at it, first of all, the demographics and the diversity within our employee base is different than you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employers. So, you're competing against Dow or the hospitals or the schools or other companies. We are very different in our employment base. So we have everything from lifeguards to tennis pros to teachers to accountants to, you name it, to make our full organization really, truly hum. Currently, like as employees, we have about 380 typically at any one point in time. But you're right, throughout seasons, like we just ended last Friday, our summer camps, of which we have 5,000 kids throughout the course of summer running around our facilities, so we need camp counselors. So there's a lot of seasonal. We run middle school sports, and so we have to hire the referees and the coaches and a lot of the staff that goes with those programmings. So throughout the course of a year, we average over 600 employees that really fuel our services. So we're really a great fabric of employment. We're often somebody's first-time job. That comes with great responsibilities of learning and teaching people to fill out their tax forms or show up on time or how to interview. And so we do take that role seriously as an organization as well.
A lot of my friends, their first job was working at the community center or working at the tennis center or an entry-level position for them here in the community. But even beyond that, my supervisor at the Community Foundation, her first role in Midland was working at the community center as well. So it runs a full spectrum of folks that you're involved in, and it really connects people to one another. And when we're talking about a nonprofit organization having that large of an employment base, I think I've heard you say that Greater Midland really sets the tone for nonprofits here in Midland County, and I would have to agree. But what kind of tone do you really hope to set?
Yeah, and we do take all of that really seriously as far as, really integrating and networking and partnering. I mean, a lot of our programs partner with a lot of other nonprofit organizations, and I'll do a shout out to United Way and Holly Miller. Greater Midland was United Way's first partner agency.
Incredible.
Back in the day. And so we take that partnership very seriously, and we're very grateful on the funding exchange that we're able to fuel a lot of scholarships and programs because of that. So yeah, we are, you use the word unique. You go to any other community, big, small cities, communities, and there's not really a makeup like that. In a lot of communities, your rec centers or your senior programming is linked to maybe your city. So that means it's a tax base, and we're very, very different this way. But what we like to be, and I guess I'll say what our brand really is truly that well-being, really trying to drive our motto around being relevant in programming, being a place where people belong and serving with heart, to be able to have that true individual and community impact to really make our community stronger, better, more well. And that's really what we want to be.
Incredible. And your involvement with Greater Midland, as you mentioned, goes back much further than just the 4.5 years you've spent formally in your role, because you've been in Midland now for quite some time. And I know you grew up in Saginaw, but I think your time here in Midland now has maybe even surpassed that time that you spent in Saginaw.
Yeah.
What was your, your perception of Midland growing up?
I think you're trying to ask how old I am, which I will not. No,
I would never.
And you're right. So, there's a true blessing where the region in which you know, are born, grow up, went to school, and got him, started your career, got married, raised a family, and still have this as your hometown. It's really something pretty special and not real common these days. And so, yes, I grew up in Saginaw, and I have officially lived in Midland longer than Saginaw. But I remember the days where, so my dad worked for Dow for 40 years.
So 17 and 17 years. I got it. You're
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
You're good. You're
there
good.
you go,
You're
there you
good.
go.
I can do the math.
But I remember my dad, like leaving the house to go to work to Midland, and you're like, oh gosh, that's a long way. Do you have to pack a lunch to get there because you think Saginaw to Midland? And now, I think silos are so much like removed. Not only in the Great Lakes Bay region, which has really, I think, taken our region and all our individual communities to another level of performance and, and value and benefit. But the world itself seems to be getting smaller. And so, yeah, the trek from Saginaw to Bay City, you can, or Midland, any of the Great Lakes Bay areas, you do that in a lunch hour now versus, okay, wow, we got to pack the car up and make sure we have a full tank of gas. It's not like that anymore.
And you were able to raise your kids here in Midland, and what was that experience like?
Yeah. So I have 3 boys, and they grew up through the Midland Public School systems and had unbelievable positive experiences, both from the curriculum and the extracurriculum side of things. So we have enjoyed every aspect of growing through the school systems and sitting on the sidelines for basketball and football and the plays and different programs that all 3 of my kids had went through. And so we've just been blessed to be able to raise a family in this community and to be able to really show them the values of what Midland brings. And so, yeah, I love that now, that they can have the roots right here in Midland. And now I have 2 grandsons. Yes, I have boys, grandsons, even 2 male cats. I haven't branched off on the female side of things yet, but maybe soon. So it's a true blessing.
You're really outnumbered here. You gotta be careful.
They say I'm the queen, though, so I'll go with that.
Oh, there you go. We like that. We like that. Because in my house, the cat's the queen, unfortunately. Like, she just is, and, all respect to my girlfriend, but I think she would agree as well.
That's funny.
So, yeah, I got to be careful with the female cat. It will become number 1 in the crib. So you got to be careful with that. And you talked about your kids having positive experiences with Midland Public Schools, and I've heard you so many times talk about Midland being a welcoming place, an inclusive place, a place that we need to bring everyone into the fold. And I was sitting in a meeting yesterday with Jason Story. And Jason's been on the show before, and Jason and I are working on a lot of talent development and retention work here in Midland County. And Jason told an impassioned story in front of a group, actually, about how the first person he received a hug from in Midland was you. And when he moved here, he didn't really know what to think of this place, and he really has that as a core memory of his welcome into Midland. And we were asked a question to start the meeting. Everyone has their favorite icebreakers. So this particular question was, how do you welcome someone into the community? And he specifically used you as that example. So not only are you speaking it, you are living it. So how important do you think that is for Midland to be a place for everyone?
Wow. Well, first of all, that's very special to hear because Jason is a pretty important and special individual and member of our community. You talk about what he's trying to do and the diverse background of his. Why we first met has nothing to do with what he's doing right now in the attraction and retention for the talent in the community. But I think, Midland, I don't want to keep using the word unique, but Midland is unique because it does have...
It's the buzzword.
It is a good buzzword.
It's a good buzzword.
And it truly is based on trying to be a really good place, really authentic and at the core. Now, do we have it all right? No. But, how do you walk the talk? When you stand for something, you go and live it and you go and represent it. And we all have a role to play in that, no matter what your position is or no matter what board or team or engagement you are. But to me, you do have to look at the ability of, all right, I have my home and my family and my friends and my core here. You got your employment, so you have that kind of base. If you miss that community piece, I think at the personal level, you miss out yourself, but also the ability to create the environment and the community that you want and that we need moving forward. So, yeah, Jason's story is right. I'm a hugger. I love to, listen and understand and be part of and engage. And if I can help people feel like Midland is a good place to work, play, and live, because it is for me.
And you've seen Midland now through the lens of working at a large and important and impactful nonprofit, but you've also seen it from the other side of our area's largest employer at one point in time. Let's talk a little bit about your introduction to our community and your career, and we will focus on Greater Midland today, but prior to that, you worked at a company with a little red diamond and a few letters, correct?
And that is, I talk about my dad working for Dow for a long time. And, as a little girl walking the halls going, wow, this is great. And so, as I went through my education and after I graduated college, it was the natural fit for me. And my journey in Dow was unique and a little different than I think a lot of traditional paths. Having a business and communication degree, I started in different components of customer service and sales and marketing until I got a handful of years in and wanted to really drive into that communication, public affairs side of things, because that's where my passion is and that's where I really wanted to kind of dive into. And then was blessed to be able to have the opportunity to get into business communications and then all the different assets and facets of public affairs. And what that's brought me is 36 years of working with unbelievable, professional, caring people, life experiences of travel and globality and understanding the world. How do you engage and help elevate in companies where your work makes a difference and you can help that in others as well? And so every day, and I will say every day, no matter how hard or maybe how difficult certain things have been through a career, has been truly identified for me as a blessing working for Dow. And as a community, we should be incredibly thankful and understand the impact of having Dow and DuPont and Corteva in the hospital system and our school system, the big infrastructures, to be able to give to a community of our size, to have the assets that we have, including our Greater Midland assets, because they all lean in. You don't have a brand new community center at that significance by just your membership. You need investments and you need to have them believe in the value, and they do. So again, I think my time at Dow was incredibly valuable and blessed, and now transitioning to the Greater Midland in a different level of fulfillment has been something I could have never dreamed of. So I'm one lucky person.
And I think we're fortunate to work on important initiatives in our community now. And obviously, we see the full spectrum of needs within our community. But reflecting a little bit on our forefathers, if you look at Greater Midland's introduction and the original community center, that doesn't happen without generosity and without people in our community that have a vision for health all the way around. And I'm talking health from a social side of things, health from a physical side of things, and just an emotional side of connecting to our community in the same way that you don't have a community foundation without those initial investments and that vision. And I think that there are a lot of communities with large companies in them that do not see the investment in that community from a side of generosity that we have seen in our history. It's been unbelievable, the tone that has been set and continues to be carried on in Midland today to be able to address the needs of our community members from all walks of life throughout our entire county. And the community center is such an important asset in the middle of our community, but there's so many other assets that Greater Midland brings as well. And when you look at our community success panel and our 3 priority areas that we've laid out for housing, childcare, and also talent development and retention, I believe that Greater Midland is a huge, huge player in having a role in all of those components. And would you just like to talk a little bit about how Greater Midland plays in our county's health overall?
Yeah, and this is I'll probably start and finish with this comment around it's our people.
Yeah.
The the employees and the team at Greater Midland, truly, we talk about serve with heart. That is part of our purpose statement and our values. They do every day. Anyone that walks through our door, whether it's a member, a participant, our youngest learner to our most seniored active adult, it's always with the heart of trying to make a difference in their life. And so our staff really does create that. But if you look at what Greater Midland can do in a community to be well, it's not always in your gym. It's not always with the fitness equipment. It's not about the physical well. It's about the whole body well and the mental wellness and some of the visions and the strategies that we have as a community and what Midland is trying to do around a thriving community. You know, I've really tried to get out of my office and go and experience what our centers do and what our programs do. And whether it's my favorite volunteer event where it's our dress giveaway for homecoming and prom, where we have thousands and thousands of dresses, and you see the young people coming in with their parents and being able to, for free, get one or two dresses to be able to go through their, you know, the seasons of their homecoming dances and proms where they would never be able to have that, and trying them on and helping them pick out the right dress, and or working a food distribution. You know, we are a blessed community, but we also have a lot of need in our community, and organizations like Greater Midland, and then fueled back to your point around how can we thrive and continue to do what we do. Yes, we want to be financially sustainable ourselves, but we also need the support of our philanthropic partners, and that could be member donations, leader company organizations, or our foundations. We are one lucky community because of our the foundation base. Because yes, they contribute, and financially you need that, but they're in your corner. They support. They make your organizations better. They make sure that when they are contributing, that you have your project scope and your finance, you know, you have a good project, and so they make us ultimately stronger.
And we know that childcare is such a critical issue here in Midland County, and Greater Midland serves hundreds of children daily, even not weekly, not monthly, daily. How do you see Greater Midland's role in both the regional, statewide, and local conversations?
Active, and active.
Yes.
For childcare or our early care and education programs, we are a significant player, of course, in Midland, but in the region, and we do have a voice at the state level. And so if you think about between the community center and our two family centers, we service probably around 300 kids every day from sun up to sundown, so from birth to before they start the school systems. And what it does is it allows families to be able to know that their kids are in quality, affordable programming, because we're able to partner with different state programs and subsidies to be able to pass those along so that families can afford a quality place for their kids to be throughout the course of the day, for them to go to work and do what they need to do to get their family thriving. But it's so much more than that. We do the before and after school programs. We do the summer camp programs. So our role in child care is very critical. But it's a tough one because you don't make a lot of money doing that because of your ratios of, staff to kids. And so you really do need an infrastructure like Greater Midland where you're profitable in certain areas, and then your mission critical areas you're able to help sustain. But we have a voice. We have our leaders in our organization. Andrea Secrease is really known locally and statewide as having a voice in the policy discussion and the funding discussions. And so we're able to help play that one of three critical community success priorities in a very meaningful way.
And we've already talked about how large of an employer you are as well. So you definitely play a role in talent as well. And that is critical too. And you're supporting folks throughout their life. And yesterday I was driving to the community center. And
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Unfortunately, there's a lot of construction right now, which is necessary, and I understand on the road specifically. So I don't know which roads are one-ways right now, which ones are open, which ones are closed. So But we still go, and everyone should still go. So I go to make my turn, and I ended up turning kind of by Cleveland Manor. And my girlfriend said, it's pretty incredible that the Silver Sneakers program is at the community center. And I think is that a Greater Midland program all the way around?
It does. We do have different assets in our operating units that support the insurance-based programs like Silver Sneakers.
Awesome. And when she said that, I was shocked that she knew what it was because we've never had a conversation about it.
Well, you might not have to right away.
But it was just awesome that she even was aware of that particular program and its validity within your organization. So how are you also supporting older adults?
Yeah. And that's a really key stakeholder group for our community, or for any community for that matter. And you talk back to the whole well-being. There's no more important stakeholder group to look at well-being through the lens of the physical, the conductivity, the social, the engagement part of it than our most active adults. I got to be careful because I'm entering in that. But the most active adults, to be able to really support them through programming. And I'll tell you, about a year and a half ago, our Silver Sneaker practice or program was very limited. It was, you can come in and you can play cards or mahjong, or you can maybe go into some of the stretch fitness classes, and we get reimbursed by insurances per check-in. So there's a financial value. And we kind of looked at ourselves at a team and said, what if we made the facility accessible? What if we opened up more programming? What would it be? And again, back to our leaders, our innovative thinkers, Shane Forfar is our director of operations, and he kind of said, you know what, I'm willing to give up memberships, meaning they might have a paid membership, to go to Silver Sneakers where they go for free, by allowing them to have so much more. And our participation in the insurance-based active adult programming has skyrocketed. Our membership has really grown because of what's happening at the community center and the tremendous transformation taking place under Jeff Reckaway's leadership at the tennis center. But I love seeing the spaces filled with the seniors that bring it. They go to their classes. They sit around the tables in our open spaces. They bring vegetables to share with each other. We have our pancake breakfasts, and it's just truly, I think, life-extending quality of life opportunities for those programs.
You play such an important part in well-being in our entire county. Looking forward, obviously, you're as a leader, you're celebrating wins now, but you're also going to have foresight for the future. What do you see in the future for Greater Midland?
I talk about financial sustainability. I think the nonprofit sector, and just in general, has to start to truly transition into financial independence. When you look at whether it's corporation or funding or foundations or state, or pick your favorite kind of funding revenue streams, you really do have to start to put a strategy in place of self-sustainability. And that's tough because you try to keep your pay or your membership cost or your, at the lowest, and we also want to reward our employees. So it's a tricky balance. But I would tell you, for Greater Midland, I am so thankful for the leaders we have that are truly innovating. And that is looking at the growth in all of our centers to be able to serve more and to diversify what we're doing. And we joke about pickleball, but pickleball, it's a craze right now. And being able to ride that wave does help us to ensure that we're going to be in the tennis center for the next 50 years. And so we have to do that. The other thing that I want to see for Greater Midland is a greater respect and reward for employees of nonprofits. They work very hard. You look at the teachers in our early care programs. There is, it's such a critical position, and it's very physically and mentally tough. And how do we put those, and that gets back to, again, the community success focus around rebranding to a whole level of appreciation for those jobs, to be able to not only make them feel valued, loved, appreciated, but how can we put our money where our mouth is? So for Greater Midland, I want to keep innovating. I want to realize that there's things like AI, when we're putting a full AI strategy in place. So how do we also run as a business so that we can fulfill our strategy, and how we can then achieve the things that this community needs us to do? You're not around for 107 years by accident. We built the community center not to house the programs of yesterday or today. We built it based on how do we sustain what the community is going to need over time. And so we just have to keep innovating, and we have the right leaders with the right thoughts and voices to do that.
You mentioned nonprofit sustainability, and it is such a common language right now amongst really incredible leaders in our community. And you mentioned Holly Miller at United Way, Sharon Mortensen at the Community Center, or at the Community Foundation. I apologize.
She can come to the community center.
I know you'd love that. No,
I would
you can't
love
have
that.
her. You can't have her. But it's just such a great common language that's being spoken right now, and it puts the community at the core, and that is so appreciated. And when you look up on that wall, when you walk into the community center and you see folks that have contributed to it, I think that the vision that you had for that particular center to be a space that can exist in perpetuity and can change in different ways is really awesome. So, not saying next year, not saying 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but how is the community center set up to grow with time?
Yeah. And you do look at it and evolve. And so, again, back to, you don't build it for today, you build it for the future. So how do we evolve? And I'll use even childcare as a great example. We have to stay very close of what the trends and the vision of what childcare is at the state and federal level. So as you start to look at what does a 3-year program, 3-year-old program look like, or what does, so that ebbs and flows. And so, we look at how we have our centers and our programs set up. We're going to have to evolve as those programs evolve. And that's why you build partnerships like with Midland Public Schools. Penny Miller Nelson is just fabulous. And so our partnership with her and her staff to make sure that the relationship between the school districts and our center, because they have to coordinate. They can't overlap because that's not efficient for the community, but they can't have a gap so that families don't know how to transition through. So we have to keep evolving. And so I see that, we have a 3 to 5 year strategy, and every year we'll push that out and continue to make sure that we're relevant, we're prepared and able to sustain and move forward. And that's how we're just managing it as a business, but not acting like it to the point of we're still a nonprofit organization.
And you're such an impactful nonprofit, but truly you operate like a large business because that is your size.
We do. And so we, back to the team, we have a very sophisticated HR team. Jody Hayes is our HR executive director, and the policies and programs that you have to evolve as you learn. When things like minimum wage and ESTA and things come up, we have to be, yes, in compliance, but we want to do the right things to make sure we protect the organization and be the advocate for all our employees. We have a controller, Stephanie Swanson, who has, since I've been there and since she's been there, has innovated just the whole financial system so that we get information to make good decisions around where are we investing, where we're spending our money, so we can be very responsible. Andrew Warren, again, from an IT perspective and a risk mitigation, how do we have the right tools? And I mentioned Shane and Jeff and Andrea Secrease. We have Andrea Conquest, who's leading our family centers. We work closely together to make sure that we are business-minded and then member and community focused.
You've used the word evolution a few times here in our conversation, and evolution not only takes place within the 4 walls of the organization or within those buildings, but you and your husband have recently become empty nesters. So if we're looking at that empty nester, how has that evolved? Your relationship with our community, what does that look like for the two of you?
Yes, so we've been empty nesters for a little while.
I would never age you. I would never age you.
Thank you. That's why I agreed to do this. And actually, we're having our 35th wedding anniversary this November, and it's interesting because we're finding a whole new we're like dating again. It's
Yeah.
really fun to go through just kind of, when we met and, that whole process of dating and getting engaged and getting married and then having the kids and then when the kids become adults and now they're having their kids, it's really a fun opportunity to get back to the core of why we met and fell in love. And so we're having a good time, and finding time to spend with the grandkids is a whole nother joy. And it's fun because back to Greater Midland, our family photo album, scrapbook, I think they're all electronic, but Greater Midland is just on every page, whether it's the kids learning to swim or the athletic programs or Tim still playing basketball. I think he's one of the, I won't say oldest, but the longest standing, probably
Most influential.
there you go. That's a better word. On the basketball teams from way, way back. And so it's fun to see and go through different stages, and you shift a generation. I used to be the kid, and then I used to be this, and now I'm the grandparent, and it's humbling, a little overwhelming, but a lot of fun.
I've seen you and Tim there on a Saturday within the last year walking the track with family, and it's just really living it and working it. It's pretty interesting, and that is awesome. So
Yeah.
Thank you for being such a great example of actually utilizing the center.
Yeah, it's, you would think I would be a little more fit based in my office is right inside with this beautiful facility of equipment and personal trainers. And so I like to make sure that I have it there for everyone else. So, but I like to do it a little
Thank
myself.
you for sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing. We appreciate it. And now as you're exploring Midland, I want to talk a little bit about how you would plan a day in Midland. So if, you have a blank slate and you take a look at our community, what would a day look like for you in Midland if you were handing it out?
Well, I'd go to the community center, go to the tennis center, no, but in my day off. Let's say
your day off. What does it look like for you? We'll pretend on your day off you go to the community center first, so you have that out of the way.
I have it all there.
After you hit the community center,
right? It's fun. Just now that we're into August and you get through July, and you turn on the TV and you have the whole Christmas in July. So you start thinking about, pretty soon we're going to blink and it's going to be the fall and the winter. And so I look at a really great thing that I get excited about is when the Christmas lights and the fire pits are all on Main Street, and you look at the opportunities to take a Saturday, and I don't care how old you are, the Santa house is.
Thank you for that plug.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And my son got engaged at the Santa house this past Christmas, and so it's even extra special. But go and engage, go see the reindeer, go in or just watch the magic happen, and walk down and get a cup of hot chocolate from the H, or a little nibble there because they have such amazing treats. A pizza at Pizza Sam's, go to Three Bridges and have a cocktail, and then along the way do a little holiday shopping. And so to me, I really love the magic of what downtown brings when, you have the people sitting around the fire pits, and you have coats and hats and mittens and a little cup of, whatever you have in your cup. It really is magical. And to have a Santa house, and we teach the Santas to be Santas. I mean, you just have to take advantage of what this community has to bring and just walk up and down Main Street.
We have so many incredible things in Midland, and I'm personally excited to be a community member here currently, but I'm also very optimistic for the future. So as you look at the future of our community, what are some of your hopes and dreams for Midland?
One of the things that you hear a lot is that Midland's a great place to raise a family, and that is 100% true. I would love it to be Midland is a great place, and to look at the different generations and different stakeholder groups. And I would love to really kind of focus in on how do we look at the population of our kids that are graduating. They go to high school or college or the trades, and how do we look at Midland being a great place for that younger group that wants to start their career, And then, how does that evolve into them wanting to look at then transitioning to the finding someone and being married and then, going all through the stages. And so to me, Midland's got the foundation for so much. I would say back to do we do everything right? No, but we do things pretty darn good, and we have passionate leaders. We just need to get the voice of the full community. And I know that that's a pipe dream because you just can't hear from everybody, but we really need to understand the dreams, the wants, the needs of the greater community so that we can continue to evolve to be that place for everyone that wants to stay. So it is a great place to raise a family. It's just a great place.
And as we wrap up here, is there anything else that you would like the audience to know about Greater Midland or anything that's on the horizon right now?
I have to end where I started with Team Greater Midland. I'm sometimes the face and the voice, but I'm not the full heart of the organization. And so to me, if I can send that message to any employee of our organization, no matter what operating unit or what position they have, I'm blessed and I represent you. And they're what makes it happen. And so to me, if you're a member or if you're, dropping your kids off or if you're engaging with any of our staff, give them a hug. Make them feel welcome. Make them feel like what they're doing matters because it does. And it's not easy work. So to me, I just really want to make sure that, the sixth largest employer, it doesn't happen by chance. And there's a lot of employees doing some amazing work.
Terri, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
And thank you all for being here with us today as well. This has been another incredible episode of the Max Loves Midland Show. You can always rewatch this episode on YouTube. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also check out our clips. They're all over social media, everything from YouTube Shorts, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We are all over the place. And if you are listening to this episode on WSGW, we appreciate you joining us today. This has been the Max Loves Midland Show, the place where you can see Midland through your lenses. Thank you. Subscribe wherever you consume media. Max Loves Midland is your entertainment, resources, and collective improvement hub for Midland County. Plan your next adventure in Midland at maxlovesmidland.com.